Hi guys, welcome back to the Scottish Scrapper, and this episode we're going to take apart a microwave slash combo grill. As you can see, this model is made by Prestige, the CB130. Good thing about obviously microwave ovens is mostly they are steel, so it's all metal, not a lot of plastic waste, and all can be recycled, so obviously that's a big bonus when we're taking apart these things. The real things we'll be looking for when we get into it is first of all there's a magnetron in there. Magnetron is a big metal piece with two magnets, one on each end, and commonly it has fins, and the fins are usually made of aluminium. So that's one thing we'll be looking for. The other thing we'll be looking for is a big copper item, which of course is a transformer. So those are the two main things. There will be some other little things in here. There will be a board, a PCB board, a little power board, and yeah, let's get it open and see what we've got. So here's the back of it. As you can see, big scary messages on it. Yeah, possible shock hazard. Needs to be a qualified service engineer. Well, I'm not servicing it, I'm taking it apart. So yeah, we will do that, but we'll be very careful. Sometimes you do have to discharge these things, so yeah, just need to be really careful. Some nice easy screws to take out. The other ones will need a little bit of a specialist screw head, but I've got that, so that's fine. And we'll get the cover off and we'll see what's inside. Well, I'd love to have shown you me unscrewing all these pieces, but unfortunately you can see that one at the top proved to be a little nightmare, so I've had to kind of force it off a little bit. However, what it has done is it's revealed the back. You can see there's a fan attached to a motor, obviously a nice spool of copper on that motor. In here there's a little switch, and there's a little nub of silver in here as well. All these little connectors are actually made of brass as well usually, so worth keeping them as well. So that's kind of the back plate. Nothing really more to show on that. I will take that apart, but as I say, the only thing other than steel there that's worth taking, obviously I'll disconnect the wires, is that copper motor. Okay, this piece on the top here as well, that'll be aluminium, and this piece is steel. There's actually, this is copper as well, like copper solder. So again, that's worth taking off of there and sticking in your copper pile as well. Okay, let's get the rest of it off. Okay, so we've got the lid off. Eventually, I'd be lying if I said that was the easiest lid to take off, because of all the kind of different types of screws that it has. And this shows you inside what we're actually trying to recover. So you can see here there's switches, and as I say, with switches, all of them will have a little piece of silver in there, so worth taking them off. You can see over here, right down in here, that's a little transformer, a little kind of blue sticker on top of it. So I'll have copper in that. This is the magnetron. So as you can see, these fins here are usually aluminium, so we can take them off. There's a little bit of copper inside the magnetron itself. There's a little switch on top that will contain a little bit of silver, and the real thing we're looking for is the big transformer. So as you can see, the transformer is a fair size, and in here and in here is where the copper is. So let's get all these components out and give you a little bit of a look at them as well. See over this side there's a capacitor. Capacitor is aluminium but full of liquid and not something I mess around with. Okay, so let's get these components out. Okay, so I've got most of the screws out now. Some of the screws actually for the transformer were located underneath, as is some of the bottom plate screws. We've taken off the door, so we'll move that to one side and we'll concentrate on getting some of our components out. So first thing out is the magnetron. So as you can see, still connected by a couple of wires there. This little piece of braiding on the top is actually brass, it's not copper. But again, yep, take that out. And we'll pull these wires off. One. Second one's a little bit stubborn. There we go. Second one, and there's our magnetron. So as you can see, the two magnets, and on top in here there's a little piece of copper as well. We'll open that up and we'll let you see what that looks like. Obviously something you don't want to go anywhere near when it's plugged in, but now we've got all unplugged, discharged, it's nice and safe. One thing you need to be careful of is pieces on this side. This kind of ceramic piece, it's not something you want to break apart. You ingest that, it's bad for you, so you definitely want to avoid that. But you can break apart this magnetron, keep the steel, keep the aluminium, a little bit of copper in here, and that's about it. So let's open the magnetron up. So we've got the lid open, and you can see we've got two copper coils basically wound round a little piece of ferrite. So we can safely snip them off. And there you go. Two nice little pieces of copper. We'll extract them from the ferrite. And yeah. Okay, now we've taken off the top plate of the magnetron. As you can see, is the top plate, and we have a little piece of copper braiding. As I said, with these things, don't touch them, leave them on, don't worry about them. They're not really something that you require, something that you can salvage, so I would just leave them well alone. What we can do though, is we can take off these magnets, big ferrite magnet, so we will get that off. Okay, so on taking the top magnet off, it releases this component, and as I say, these fins are all aluminium, so we will extract them from this piece. The centre of this piece is copper, but as I say, just make sure you don't mess around with this kind of stuff. You know, this stuff here, don't be shattering that, keep that intact, and certainly I wouldn't try and recover anything from that area. But you can, you know, grind off these bits, cut through that bit and keep this bit which has copper all the way through it. And then you're left obviously with one magnet left. You can extract that little piece as well, and then you just got a piece of steel there. So we'll take that magnet off of there and just leave the base steel, and we'll put that in our steel bin. So that's the magnetron. Okay, we've now extracted the rear fan, which sat in here, sat in this piece, obviously sending the cooling air out the back. So having extracted that now, you can see there's another copper motor on it. This is not a DC motor, so there's no copper that sits in here. This is obviously where the copper sits. So that's very similar to the one we pulled off the back. So that's a nice two reels of copper that we're going to have already from taking this microwave apart. So we'll put that to one side just now. And we'll pull out the capacitor. And here's the capacitor. So as I said, it is made of aluminium, but not something that I try and salvage, just due to, you know, there's a lot of kind of liquid in there, oil kind of stuff in there. I've got a load of the capacitors, I've got a load of them sitting around. I don't know if there's anyone that actually takes them. The scrapyard will take them, but haven't tried. They're just getting away, to be honest. So we will remove that from the transformer, and then we'll get the transformer out. Okay, so everything's been disconnected from the transformer. Okay, everything has been disconnected now from the transformer. We've got the wires off it from the front panel. We've got the wires disconnected from the capacitor, and we can now remove the transformer. So let's get it out, have a look. Very heavy object. So as you can see, we have copper wire here, and there's another huge piece of copper wrapped around this piece. Obviously encased at the moment. Don't know if you can see the copper through there. Not quite, but that's full of copper as well. Again, the transformer is welded, but a well placed chisel and a good smack with a hammer, and we'll be able to take that transformer apart and we can recover that copper. So again, that's our third now copper item that we have got from this microwave. Put that again to one side while we pull out the final pieces of anything that's actually salvageable. So we'll try and pull this front end off. See if it's connected to anything. Okay, let's just try and... Oh, we do have a plug here. There we go. Get that one off. And we can just push that off. Pull that one out. This one's actually connected here to the power cord. So let's just snip everything off and let's see what we've got. Okay guys, this is the front panel board that's connected to the front panel. These in here are actually switches as well, and these are all kind of brass connectors. Inside here is actually a little spool of copper wire, and they have little switch mechanisms as well, which have little silver nubs as well. So I'll take one of those apart and I'll let you see exactly what that is in a moment. And there's a little transformer, and as we know, transformers all contain copper wire. On the front, so these are obviously the switches that are, you know, what you press. So these are the kind of switch panel. All these little buttons connect to one of these little switches, and the switches are called tactile switches. And again, they have a little tiny nub of silver in the middle of them. If you see some of my other videos, you'll see where I show there's a little bit of silver in between them. So that's the main board. As I say, this one is mostly copper. Some good little stuff in there. There'll be copper in here as well. Copper in here. And there's a little crystal oscillator as well. Unfortunately, none of the pins are gold. But that's fine. Can't have everything. Little tiny IC chip on the back. No monolithic capacitors or anything like that. So let's take apart one of these. and I'll show you what I mean by what's inside these and what the copper is. Okay, so we have taken the side off one of these components here, and as you can see inside here we have two things. We have the spool of copper, obviously nice bright copper sitting there, and we also have a little switch mechanism. Can't see if you can see here, these two are switch contacts, and you'll see the little nubs that touch each other are silver. So nice bit of copper, little bit of silver. The rest of these pieces, these prongs at the top, as I said before, are brass. These pieces on this side, they're usually just steel, so nothing to be had there. But as I say, that's actually quite a nice little spool of copper, really nice clean copper. There's actually more on that than you would think as well. Looks like a little tiny bit, but it all adds up. Got 3 of them on this board, so yeah, there's a little bit of copper to be had there. So there's now 6 items of copper that we've pulled. There is copper inside these things as well, very similar to these, so we can take the copper out of them. So that's 5 items of copper already out of the board. In fact, sorry, we forgot about the copper that's inside there as well. So there's 6 items that have copper inside them as well within the microwave so far. Okay, so that's the board. Tiny little power board. You can see there's now another item of copper. Nice thick copper wire, and that's encased around a kind of plastic casing. Inside that plastic casing is again ferrite. I do keep all these fuses because fuses at the end of these fuses are usually they're silver plated. So I just keep all the fuses together, and it's silver plate. A couple of capacitors on there. Don't think they're tantalum ones. They're just standard capacitors. A little resistor here. And that little long thing's a resistor. And this thing is encased inside in kind of plastic and worth nothing at all. There's nothing in there of value. But a couple of little brass pins there as well. So a couple of things there, nothing on the back, and that covers off the power board. Now we're left with the wires. As you can see, the wires are connected to switches. So this is one of the switches I've showed in a previous video. As you can see, nice little switch. You can hear the switching mechanism inside there working, and again those connections, when they click together, are silver. So we've got 1, 2, 3, and we also have 2 of these, and these have little silver switches in them as well. So yep, there's 5 switch items, all containing a little piece of silver. Okay, so that covers off the wire. There is one connected to a little capacitor at the back there, I think, or some mechanism at the back. We will find out what that is, and we will pull these wires out. Okay, now we've moved the bottom plate, and as you can see on the bottom plate we have another little motor. So this will be the motor that actually moves the plate itself. So we can just pull this out. We have to give it a bit of a tap. Nope. If I'd actually looked a little bit more carefully, I would have saw that it's actually still got a screw in it. I'm not going to get that out like that. So we'll take the old trusty manual screwdriver. Apologies, as I am kind of filming one-handed as doing this, which is why I've not kind of shown you all the taking out of all the screws, as we don't want to see all that, we just want to see the motor. So there's a nice little DC motor, and actually it's worth opening this one up and taking out the copper, because there's quite a significant piece of copper in here, and it's on a reel, so it's a nicer piece of copper than you'd get in a normal kind of standard DC motor. So I'll open that up and I'll let you see. So with the top plate off the motor, you can see there's a little cog mechanism in there. Looks like it's fairly well greased, so I'll remove those cogs and try and not get grease all over my fingers. Okay, we've removed the cog plate, which is what you can see here, and we've removed a little piece of ferrite in the middle. As you get in most motors, there's always a little magnet piece in there. There's a little piece of magnet, a little ferrite magnet, and that leaves us with this piece. So as you can see, we've got the brass connectors, and we've got a sealed plastic area inside, and it's inside this sealed plastic area that we get the copper, so that copper's all sitting inside there. So let's get it out. We might not be able to reveal the copper, but we'll get it out and hopefully we can get a bit of a glimpse of it. Okay, we've got it out. So this is it here. So I say a little spool. If we pull back this top piece, then you can see that there's a nice thick spool of copper. Yeah, so again, another piece of copper from our microwave. It's actually been quite a bit of a copper haven for us. It's been really good. Okay, we've got the wires left. Obviously we will separate the wires from the switches. We'll do that another time. And then you're left with the base husk of the microwave. And again, as you can see, it's all just metal. So we will put that in our metal pile, and that can go to the scrapyard as it is. For the door, there is a little bit of plastic on the door, so we will extract the main piece here from the plastic, and we will squash all this outer side down. So that's going to be nice and neat sitting in our pile, and we should be left with some steel and lots of copper. Okay, now we've taken all the metal off the door. So this was the outer plate that was actually glued on to the door. So we've taken that off. We'll add that to our metal pile, and all that remains here is plastic. So we'll put that in the plastic bin. The handle. So this was the handle. Let's have a quick check to see if it's magnetic. It isn't. That would tell me that is stainless steel. So we will put that in our stainless steel pile. Definitely not aluminium. Too heavy for aluminium. And as I say, it doesn't stick. So that will be definitely one for our stainless steel pile, which is over here. Stick that in there. Plastic residue in the bin, and then that leaves the other piece of the door. We can take this plastic side plate off. There we go. Put that in the plastic side. And this piece, it's a nice piece of kind of heavy steel as well. Obviously got a little bit of glass inside it. I don't bother taking that glass out. That'll just go to the scrapyard like that. There you go. So back plate as we saw at the start. Okay. Last pieces obviously is separating the motors. So we'll separate these motors out. One. Two. And there's the motor off. So all pieces, a piece of aluminium at the bottom. We'll have to take these pieces out in the middle here, because the casing's aluminium but there's pieces of steel in the middle, so we need to separate all those metals out. We've got the drive motor here, but again there is no copper or anything worthwhile in there, so it would just be a case of sticking that in the steel pile. We'll separate it just to make it more manageable. Another one at the back. There we go. That should take that out. Actually, we'll have to take that out with take the bolt off that one as well, unscrew it. That's fine, we can take that off. We can actually just put it all in a pile like that once we get this little switch off. That's us done, and as we say, we'll take this one off as well, and that's us kind of got a lovely little yield back of copper. So that's it guys, that's for this episode, taking apart a microwave grill. As you can see, really worthwhile if you can get your hands on these, because they do contain a lot of copper, and you know, I really enjoy taking these ones apart actually, because there's a lot of different components. As you can see, silver switches, little components with smaller reels of copper, bigger reels of copper, huge transformers, a little bit of everything really. So thanks for watching again. If you enjoyed the video, then hit like and subscribe, and you can see more videos as they are loaded. Thanks for watching, see you next time.